Hey everybody, just Mr. Karam here. Wanted to keep rocking on some of these review videos for you guys as we prepare for all this e-learning stuff. Also, these are really good for just reviewing. If you ever want to come back to these, maybe we're not at school and you're just working on a test or something, or just studying, getting prepared for something. These are great videos to come back to, and so I hope they help you. So here we go. Let's dive right in. First thing you're going to need is a piece of paper and a writing utensil before we kick this off. So, a couple notes, quick. The first thing I want you to make sure that you do is that you write the categories before you write the actual terms down. The categories are on the screen here. They are bolded and they are underlined. So that's the category. Please put that on the top in the middle. And, or you can put them like in a bracket style along the left side, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to cook. So if I'm going too fast, just go ahead and pause the video to catch up, but you got this. So number one is rhythm. Rhythm is simply put the duration of a pitch, duration of pitch. Okay. It is not the speed yet. That's another term. In fact, that's the next term. Tempo. Tempo is the speed of the beat, or the speed of the pulse. Okay, in music, it tends to have a steady pulse or steady beat. That is your tempo, and the higher the number, the faster the tempo. Like 60 beats a minute is a slow tempo. 180 beats a minute is a really fast tempo. Okay, measure is an organization of beats or pulses. I like to use the word pulse instead of beat. Okay, here is an example of a measure. And here I'm showing you the piano part of Didn't My Lord Deliver Daniel by Ken Berg. And we have measure one right here. A measure is defined by the measure bars, which are these vertical lines right here. So that is the end of measure one and the beginning of measure two. And here's another bar line. So that means that's measure three. Okay, cool. Each measure is typically numbered, by the way. That way you can kind of know where you're at when your conductor says, hey, we're in measure 42. You know exactly where you're going. Pitch is the height of the note. How high or low is the pitch, and that is perceived by us through our ears, and of course then processed through our brains. So the height of the note. Okay. The next thing is melody, which is a single musical line that is musically satisfying. So a lot of times it's the first thing that people hear is just this kind of melody going, and they're like, okay, they start tapping their toe or whatever. It's obviously really popular in pop music, things like that. But in choral music, there's not always a melody. So we'll get into that per class. Harmony is more how the music is stacked vertically. It's a collection of notes in either consonance or dissonance. And so consonance is, do the notes agree with each other? And dissonance, do the notes not agree with each other? So it is a vertical stacking of multiple notes. Vertical stacking of multiple notes. So that means they're played at the same time, or they're sounded at the same time. Solfege is a pitch system. And it is our pitch system. It was designed by Zoltan Kodály, or developed by Zoltan Kodály. Really, really important part of our philosophy and our work in the Seymour High School choirs. Okay. Tempo terms. Accelerando, this is one more in the band world and the orchestral world. It's seen a little bit in the choral world, but not nearly as much. Accelerando, if you look at that word, you could even maybe just determine what English word it looks like. And for me, it's accelerate. And that's exactly what an accelerando is. An accelerando is a gradual increase in tempo. Gradual increase in tempo, or gradual increase in speed. Okay, the next one is ritardando, which is the exact opposite of accelerando. This one is found way more often in the choral world than accelerando is, and that is a gradual decrease in speed or tempo. Ritardando, a gradual decrease in speed or tempo. And then we have fermata. A fermata, if I can click on the right thing here, a fermata is a symbol which is just this right here, and I'm trying to find my thing. It is also called a bird's eye because it's a top of a half circle with a dot. And what that means, it's more of an instruction than anything, and it means hold the note or rest and watch the conductor. Hold the note, watch the conductor. So it can be a note, it can be a rest, but no matter what, hold it and watch the conductor for their gesture, and they will continue you on. Okay, so that is fermata. Okay, ensemble terms, we can rifle through these pretty quick. A choir is an ensemble of singers, a musical ensemble of singers. Of course, you are musicians, and I prefer that word over just singers because I think it implies a lot more of musicality, a lot more musical independence. You are vocal musicians, but a musical ensemble of singers or musical ensemble of vocal musicians, however you want to do it. Soprano, alto, tenor, bass. These are all related terms. These are the 4 bass terms in the world of choral music. So soprano is the highest of the female voices, or the higher of the female voices, grammatically anyway. Alto is the higher of the female voice. Tenor is the higher of the male voice. And bass is the lower of the male voice. So soprano, alto, tenor, bass. You can rifle through those. I know I'm going pretty quick, but again, pause if you need to. Tutti, T-U-T-T-I, is another more of an instructional term when we're in the middle of rehearsal, and maybe I'm working with first sopranos, and I say, okay, now tutti, which means everybody or everyone sing. That's what it means. Everyone sing. Solo. A solo is a featured song or section, a song or section for one featured musician. A song or section for one featured musician. Now we move on to articulation terms. These are 2 bass terms here. Staccato and legato. They are they're antonyms here. They are opposites in the musical world. Let me see if I got those right. Maybe. Okay, so the first is staccato, which means short and separated. So not da, 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 but da, da, da. Bum, 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 bum. They're short and separated, and it looks like this. It's a dot beneath or a dot above the note. So if it's a dot, if the stem is going upward, the dot will be below, and opposite, the stem is going down, the dot will be above. So if the dot is to the right of the note, that's a different thing entirely, which we'll get to later, but that is staccato. Legato, now we're going back here. Legato is its exact opposite. Legato literally means to bring together, or not to bring together, but it's tied together. It's long. So it's long and connected is the term there. And it will look something like this. These are ties, which mean to connect all the way through. This actually has a little video clip or a little audio clip there. So what you see here is called a slur, but that gives us the idea of legato, which is long and connected. There's no space between any note, where staccato, there is space between those notes. Dynamic levels. Okay, write these down. We're actually not going to start with fortissimo. We're going to start with the second one, forte. So forte means loud, or loud in dynamic level. Remember, you're writing these categories above them or off to the margins on the left. So forte means loud. Piano, right here, means soft. So again, I would get all of these down in the dynamic levels first, but forte loud, piano soft. Now, isi is sort of like a prefix or a suffix for very. So we can look on the bookends of dynamic levels, and we have fortissimo at the very, very top and pianissimo at the very, very bottom of this category. And so fortissimo, you can just write very and then tie it in with forte, loud. So it is very loud in dynamic level or very loud in a volume. And all of these will end with in volume or in dynamic level. Okay, so pianissimo is its exact opposite. That's why I put them in this order. Pianissimo means very, but you can tie it in with piano, and so it's very soft in dynamic level. Very soft in dynamic level or volume. Okay, so we have 4 of those down quick. The next 2 are in the middle for good reason. Mezzo forte and mezzo piano. So mezzo is the Italian word for middle or medium. Okay, so right there next to those 2, you can write medium. Medium. So mezzo forte dash, and then you write medium. Mezzo piano dash, you write medium. And again, we're tying all this in. Mezzo forte means medium loud in volume. Mezzo piano, medium soft in volume. Okay, so now you have all those dynamic levels done. Quick note on anything in the forte window. Anything in the forte window here, kind of what I'm circling, can never be strained in vocal technique. If let's say you're getting that fortissimo, but it's strained and it doesn't sound good, back it off. Anything in the forte window cannot be strained. Anything in the piano window cannot be breathy. It still has to have core. It still has to have spin. It still has to have connection. It's just quieter. It's a different color, but it's just the vocal technique is the same. Just make sure that the breath is connected and it's good to go. Okay, the last 3 terms here it's in the category of dynamic gradation. Dynamic gradation. So gradation is moving from one thing to another in a smooth transition. Okay, so like in the world of art, if someone has the color white and then they have the color and then they have black, it's finding light grays, medium grays, dark gray, black. That's a smooth transition, and that's what we have here in music as well. I kind of adapted the idea of gradation from the art world. Okay, so let's go on ahead. Crescendo is a gradual increase in volume. Okay, a gradual increase in volume. And if we go back up here, it can be any one of these to the next one up. It can be pianissimo to piano, or it can gradually go past those. It can go pianissimo to forte in one crescendo. Sometimes it's a little subjective. We got to get into the head of the composer, see what they intended. But a crescendo, gradual increase in volume. Diminuendo, also known as decrescendo. I choose the term diminuendo, which is the more globally recognized term, where decrescendo is the more Americanized term. But diminuendo is a gradual decrease in volume. So same thing, you can go from any one of these. So let's say you go to a forte and you diminuendo to a mezzo forte, so you get a little bit softer. You could go fortissimo to piano in a diminuendo. It's just got to be gradual. It's got to be even. Okay, so crescendo, gradual increase in volume or dynamic level. Diminuendo, a gradual decrease in volume or dynamic level. And then that is our last term here. If I can find it, yes, it is messa di voce, right here. Messa di voce. It looks just like this. You have a musical line, and you have a crescendo, which is this. It's a Pac-Man or a hairpin. Okay. I think I gotta flip that. Okay. Anyway, this is a messa di voce where you have a crescendo that leads immediately to a diminuendo. So here it actually gives you dynamic levels. It gives you a piano that crescendos to a forte that immediately diminuendos to a piano again. So you've got kind of a pretty broad, pretty big shift, but as long as it's even, it should be good. So that is messa di voce, a crescendo that immediately leads into a diminuendo. And the starting point, the middle point, and the ending point It's all subjective. It can all change, but that is the general idea. Okay. Word to the wise, a messa di voce. The loudest note in a messa di voce is not the last note of the crescendo. The loudest note in a messa di voce is the first note of the diminuendo. So that way you have a little bit more room to grow. Okay, so that is what I've got with all these terms. Make sure you have the categories. So we had fundamentals of music slash elements, fundamentals slash elements of music. We had tempo. We had ensemble terms. We had two articulation terms. We had dynamic levels, and we had dynamic gradation. So we had a bunch of stuff there. Get on that. Make sure that's locked in, and we'll be seeing you later. Bye.